We just learned from the president, speaking in the Oval Office a short time ago, about this new imposition of sanctions against Ayatollah Khamenei directly and his office. What do you make of it?
Well, I think the president is under the gun to show that he's a tough guy, and he backed away from the idea of dropping bombs on Iran, primarily because I think of a base that really is not interested in seeing the U.S. get involved in another Middle East conflict. That said, he needed to show that he's tough, so he's gone right after the Ayatollah and essentially canceled his credit cards, or at least with respect to using them in the U.S. So I don't think this will make a hoot of a difference, and I think the real question is whether the U.S. has any diplomacy. And by the way, when they pulled out of the Iran deal, one would have thought that they might have given some thought to what they were going to do next, and we're kind of learning that they had no idea what they were going to do next.
Well, actually, in his remarks in the Oval Office, he just kept saying, we're open to discussions. Anybody wants to talk to us, we're happy to talk to you. Sort of like, you've got the number, give me a call. I'm not sure how that normally works in international diplomacy, but we talked with Jane Harman, you know her well, former congresswoman from California, earlier today, and one of her concerns was whether the United States might be perceived as siding with the Sunni Muslims as opposed to the Shia. Of course, Ayatollah Khamenei is a Shia, and this is what she had to say.
Bottom line, we're picking sides here. We're picking the Sunni Arabs and the Saudis in particular over a long-term future with Iran, and I don't see how that's going to go well.
So that was before, actually, the president imposed those sanctions against a religious leader, not just the head of a country, but a religious leader, Shia religious leader. How dangerous is that? We might not perceive that, but in that area, how is it perceived?
I think Jane's absolutely right. I mean, the issue is the Arabs are by and large Sunni, except in a couple of countries, namely Iraq. So the majority of the Arabs in Iraq, vast majority really, are Shia. And so that's one reason the Shia Arabs of Iraq didn't want to kind of play along with this U.S. idea that we're going to go after the Iranians. They want a good relationship with their Shia neighbor, Iran. So there's no question this kind of plays into that. And by the way, what this administration has done so much of right now is to play very closely with the Saudis, who really want to establish the principle that the U.S. is with the Sunnis and not with the Shia, because the Saudis have their own Shia problem. They have a province called East Province where most of the oil is produced, and they don't want to give the Shia ideas that somehow the U.S., by going into Iraq, was going into Iraq to help Shia. So I think the Trump administration has really leaned over backwards to say, no, we're with you, Sunni Arabs. And I think, as Jane suggests, the consequences could be really problematic.